now.
Oh, hello everyone and welcome to the first planning committee meeting of, what year is it now? 2021-22, I think is the current council year.
Yep.
I will start with apologies for absence. Heather, I believe we had one from Pip Liver.
We do, yeah. So Councillor Liver has declared her apologies for absence because she is attending a district council meeting this evening. So are we resolved to accept her apologies for? Okay, that's grand, thank you.
On to item 2. Does anyone have any declarations of interest? I can't see any. So if anyone notices any as we go through the agenda, please do shout at me and I will cede you the floor to declare them. Minutes of the meeting of the planning committee held on the 27th of April. Has everyone had a chance to have a look at these? Does anyone have any comments? I'm seeing lots of shaking heads. So if we approve those, I think those were approved.
Yep, okay, that's fine, thank you.
Do we have any public questions in accordance with standing orders 22 and 23?
No, none have been received, Chair.
Do we have any letters of objection?
No, none received.
Perfect. In that case, I will move on to the bulk of the meeting. If I can find it in my agenda. So agenda item 6, which is the applications received the week ending 23rd of April, 30th of April, and 7th of May. Which starts on page, not that one,
Page 15. Yep. 15.
So I will just go through in the order they are. So we'll start with 5/2021-0923 at 9 Amberley Close. Does not meet the criteria required for consideration. 5/2021-0954, 11 Roxham Way. Heather.
Yes, okay, so I think we've got some images for this one that Mim can share with us on the screen.
Okay, I don't know if you've handed it over to me yet, but it says...
Oh, apologies, right, bear with me a second and I'll do that this moment now. Okay.
Okay.
There we go.
Thank you.
To go, apologies, I forgot to do that at the start.
Okay, no worries, right, okay. We go. Okay, so can everybody see that photo? Okay.
Yes, you'll need to click enable everything.
There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, that's it. Brilliant. Okay, yes, so we've got 3 images here for this one, which is essentially that the proposal is to convert the garage to habitable space and to build over the garage footprint, extend the ground and first floor footprint forward on the side with number 13 Roxham Way, and extend to the rear across the back of the house in line with the existing rear footprint at ground and first floor level. Although stepped in at first floor level to the side with number 9 Roxham Way. Quite a large flank wall is being created to the side of number 13 Roxham Way, although a good distance from the neighbour has been created due to the now detached garage between. There is a loss of the garage, but not clear from the application what parking provision remains. Property is becoming a 4-bedroomed property and there are no tree works provided or proposed. So my recommendation has been to consider no objection subject to no loss of amenity to the neighbouring properties and sufficient parking provision being provided on the site. Policies 40 and 72(4) and 5 of the district plan refers.
Thank you, Heather. Does anyone have any comments on this application? I can't see any.
Rosemary.
Rosemary.
I was only going to observe, just so we note it, that there is a letter of objection in from number 9 Roxham Way that's objected to the depth and scale of the proposed 2 stories and the effect of the cross-hip roof on the street view. So I think perhaps just draw that to members' attention if they haven't noticed it, just so they take account of that.
Thank you, Rosemary. Any further, John?
Yes, yeah, I mean, and the street view, I mean, I don't know this road at all, but I did wonder whether it would have an impact on the street view and that the other houses there, particularly with the roof line changing to, I can never remember what it's called, it's a sloping roof rather than a sort of gable end. And I did wonder if that would have an effect. I don't think it's probably enough to refuse it on, but I do wonder as to whether it would have an impact on the overall street view.
Rosemary.
I was going to say, yes, I think it possibly would, because Wroxham Way, the street view, the houses are at the same height and it is a fairly consistent view. So whether we want to consider some sort of expressing concern about the possible effect on the street view, I don't know, possibly.
Does anyone else have any feelings on express concern as a recommendation? Nigel.
Thanks, Chair. I concur. When I look at it on my screen, I hadn't picked up the change in the roof profile. I think on that reason I just expressed concern.
So it's just to clarify, it's express concern based on the effect on the street scene.
Yeah, on the street scene. On the street scene.
Okay. Any other comments, or do we want to move to a vote?
Did you want to mention anything at all with regards to the parking? Because it wasn't clear from the application how much parking provision was being provided, and I've got that recorded in my recommended sort of recommendation, as it were, my consider option. Did you want to make a mention of the parking provision?
Yeah, so I think it would be sensible to leave some wording in along the lines of the existing wording.
Okay.
An express concern. I welcome suggestions on the specific way that we word it, but something along those lines, yes.
Yeah, so I think that's fine. I'll be able to put something together for you to approve. It'll be something along the lines of, you know, that we express concern obviously over the possible effect on the street scene from the roof line, and also express concern over potential insufficient parking provision provided on the site. Because if they aren't stipulating how much is being provided, I think they've literally said in the answer on the application, will the parking provision be affected? And they've said no. That doesn't help us to know actually how much is being provided on the site.
Yeah, well, also parking provision presumably is being affected, because I think they're losing the garage, aren't they?
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But I think what happens is sometimes they answer no when the garage is being utilised as a store, as opposed to actually a physical parking space that they are currently using. So it's open to interpretation, shall we say?
Yeah, no, I think leaving some wording in on that so that the planning officers pick it up would be useful. So are we minded to go with express concern based on street scene and parking? Is everyone all in favour?
It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on, if I get my agenda to turn to 5/2021 1007 at 1 Carlton Bank Station Road. Hand over to Heather or her observations.
Yep, so we've got a couple of images for this one to help set the scene. I'll just wait for Mim to get that up. Okay, so this property is locally listed in the Hartmorden Conservation Area and is located on the high up section of Station Road with significant screening from public view to the front and to the side. Property is of a certain character and style. The proposal is for a full height side extension to provide extra living accommodation and 2 extra bedrooms, which will total 6. The extension is set back from the front building line and the design and style appears to match the existing. Parking is to the rear from a private road off of the Mews, although it's not clear what level of parking will be provided. There are no tree works proposed. So I've suggested no objections subject to the appropriate design and use of materials on this locally listed building in the conservation area and sufficient parking provision being provided on the site. Policies 40, 72, 4, 85 and 87 of District Plan refers.
Thank you, Heather. Does anyone on the committee have any comments on this application? Bert.
No. Yeah, I did look at the plan. I mean, the section of the side extension, it does subvert and it's dropped down below the roof line of the existing building, which is what is liked by planners. Subservient, it appears to be. So that's my only observation. If you're going to do it, you know.
Thank you, Bert. Does anyone else have any comments on this application? Can't see any hands. In that case, I'm minded to go with the recommendation as set out by Heather. Are we all in favour?
That's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to 5/2021-0980, which does not meet the criteria required, and neither does 5/2021-1004, and neither do 5/2021-0645, 0972, 1008. So moving on to 5/2021-1021 at 27 Prospect Lane. Heather, your observation.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we've got 3 images for this one for Mim to share.
Here we go.
Okay, so the existing property presents as wide on the plot but shallow in depth. The proposal is to extend rearwards to the line of the existing garden room to the full height and raising of the roof to facilitate bedroom accommodation, which will be 6 in total. The addition of a 2-storey element to the centre of the frontage has been included to facilitate an entrance lobby and a study to the first floor. Neighbouring properties are of a similar size and footprint, appears to be in keeping with the surrounding area and street scene. A double garage and ample parking space for the frontage is being provided. No tree work. My observations are to recommend no objection.
Thank you, Heather. Does anyone have any comments on this application? Nigel.
Thanks, Chair. One quick question, Heather. Raising the roof line, does that roof line then still fit in with the rest of the street?
Yes, I think, have I included Mim on one of the images of street scenes?
I couldn't.
I think the neighbouring properties are higher, actually.
That one.
Yeah, so if you,
Oh, sorry, do you want to go back to that
Yeah,
one?
no, that's okay. So the neighbouring properties, if you look at this one here, the one to the right is actually a new build and is got a higher roof line than the proposed, the changes to this Prospect Lane one. If you move on, Mim,
Yeah.
I'm not sure they did provide a street scene actually for this one.
This one, or no, and the next one's a site
Just
plan.
a site plan, yeah. I don't think, actually, Nigel, that they provided a street scene. So if they did, I would have put it on there. Let me just double check.
That's my question. I don't remember seeing it at the time, so I sort of just questioned it.
The let me just compare just very quickly. The roof line, although it's increasing, is not increasing by a dramatic amount.
To be honest, in this location, I'm not too fussy about the roof line going up, but it's not as if it's they're all cheap by jowl and it's going to look odd.
Yeah, it's I mean, I can scale it, but it is not by a dramatic amount.
I'm happy to withdraw my comments.
Yeah, I think it's less than a metre from what I can see. Put it like this,
Okay.
It doesn't go any higher than the chimney.
Okay.
Yeah, the chimney, yeah.
Yeah, and I think unless there's any other comments, I'd be minded to go with the recommendation of no objection. Are we all in favour?
It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. I'm just double checking that there isn't a street scene for it, but the roof line isn't changing dramatically.
Okay, perfect. I'll move on to 5/2021-1034, which does not meet the criteria required for consideration. So moving on to 5/2021-1061 at 14 Delcroft Way. Heather.
Okay, so I think we've got 3 images to show for this one. Okay, so this is an application where they're looking to demolish the existing dwelling and replace it with a pair of detached 5-bedroom dwellings. So as I've noted here, proposes to demolish the existing spaciously positioned detached dwelling and replace with 2 5-bedroom detached properties. The street is made up of a variety of styles of property and sits partially in the conservation area, including the application site. The 2 proposed dwellings sit within the roofline height of the existing property, with space around each property to the plot boundary lines. The footprints of the proposed properties do not extend any further forward or rearwards than the neighbouring properties. A single garage and 2 off-street parking spaces are provided for each plot. The style and character mirror the neighbouring properties, with ample amenity space provided and landscaping and no loss of trees. Objections to the LPA have been received, remarking on the loss of the individual spacious plot, appearance of the road and an overdevelopment of the plot. The application has been called in if the officer is minded to grant. And I have said consider no objections subject to no detrimental impact on the Harpenden Conservation Area and loss of amenities of neighbouring properties. And then policies ESD 1, 2 and T11 of the Neighbourhood Plan, and policies 69, 70 and 85 of the District Plan of Fair.
Thank you, Heather. Does anyone have any comments? John?
Yes, I must say, I did a walk past here, and it did look to me that might be a potential overdevelopment, trying to fit two properties of this size onto that particular plot. While I'd agree that the houses in that particular street are of a variety of sizes, they are all spacious detached houses with reasonable spacing around them, amenity space. And this seems to me to be trying to squeeze 2 quite significant properties onto a site that was probably only designed for 1. So I would be concerned about overdevelopment.
So would you be minded towards express concern?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Does anyone else agree? Nigel?
Thanks. I agree entirely. I mean, I know this road very well. I'm looking particularly at, if you look at the third image, third picture, where it shows both the street scene and also a plan of the buildings. And my reaction is, when you see how squeezed in they are, I know there are properties and all the rest, it's totally out of keeping with the road, totally out of keeping, I'm afraid. It's what I expect to find where I live, you know, on the avenues, not in West Common.
Bert, did I see your hand go up?
Yeah, I've lost the picture.
Oh, do you want the picture back?
I've got advertising coming in.
This one?
That's the one I was referring to.
Right, does Bert want to see another picture?
Have we lost Bert?
He seems to have gone quiet.
I know Rosemary wanted to speak. Rosemary, what were your comments?
That's better. That's better. I've got advertising creeping in.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, the plot size is virtually cut in half, isn't it? On a generous plot, which doesn't help. And it's not like to. I mean, it's called in, so we are to an extent covered. I'm not too worried on that aspect, but we have to be a bit sensitive down West Common way, don't we?
Rosemary?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I agree with the comments. I think it is an overdevelopment, and it's out of character with the road, and would create a precedent that could impact on the future of preserving the character of a road in the conservation area.
Perfect. So I think, unless there are any further comments, I think the committee is minded towards express concern based on it being an overdevelopment of the plot and potential effects on the street scene, if I've called that correctly.
Were you wanting to recommend refusal? Were you wanting just to express concern? Yeah.
Unless anyone doesn't think that's strong enough, but I'd be minded to put express concern to a vote and then move from there.
I'd also add notice of objections, Chair, the conservation area, overdevelopment, street scene, and in light of the conservation area.
Heather, can you put in some relevant wording on that one as well? Perfect. Are we all in favour of express concern on those bases?
Yep, that's unanimous.
Okay. That's great, thank
I'm
you.
pretty sure I invented the plural base. Perfect. So, unless I've gotten lost, I think the next one is 5/2021-1148, which does not meet the criteria required for consideration, which means the next one to be considered is 5/2021-0953 at 8 Park Avenue South. Heather, your comment.
Okay, so I think there's 2 images for this one for us to look at it. Okay, so this is an application for the creation of new vehicular access and the removal of the front boundary timber fencing, replacement with brick and metal, or brick wall with metal railings, and the installation of some timber gates. Proposal is similar proposals have been carried out on the street. The position is not on a bend with good visibility display. Proposal presents the frontage as a more open to the street scene than the existing. No tree work, just the loss of a section of hedging for the new access. Conservation area, and I've said no objection, subject to compliance with the policy 85 of the district plan.
Any comments from any committee members?
I mean, to a certain extent, I don't drive around the avenues a lot, but there's a lot of hedging out front. And by putting in brick wall with railings, you're urbanising, aren't you? Yeah, whether that's a sin, I don't know, but that's my only comment.
I think the bulk of the hedging is being retained though, Bert. If Mim, if you're able to show the images again.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Do you want me to go back?
Yeah, go back to that one if you could. Yes, thank you. So if you can see there, Bert, you can see where the existing trees and the hedge line are to the left-hand side. And the only section of hedge that is being removed is the section which you can see is between the 2 trees, and sort of onto the proposed section you can see is essentially the wide enough section for the new access to go in. So if you move along, Mim, to the proposed image and just show Bert there where the new access is and where the hedge line is being, a section of the hedge is being removed. That's the only piece that's being removed, Bert.
There.
Yeah.
Oh, no, okay. Yeah, all right, I'll wear that.
Any other comments from any committee members? No. I can't see any hands, so on that basis, I'm inclined to go with. Oh, sorry, Rosemary. Oh, sorry, you were voting preempting.
I was voting preempting.
All in favour of going with the recommendation?
That's unanimous.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm just pleased that's happened to someone else now. It's usually me. The next item is 5/2021-0959 at 65 Milton Road. Heather, your comment.
Yeah, so I think we've got 3 images for this one for us to set the scene. Okay, so the proposal is to extend the ground floor forwards by 1.5 metres to create additional habitable and garage space with a further projection of 1.5 metres for a lobby. Also, they're building in the roof to create a further 2 bedrooms, which will total 6 on the site, with 2 rear dormer and 3 front Velux windows. A small addition to the rear elevations to extend the kitchen. There are 3 off-street parking spaces and a garage space provided, not conservation area. Consider no objection.
Thank you, Heather. Any comments from committee? I can't see any hands. With that in mind, I'm inclined to go with the recommendation of no objection. All in favour?
Yep, that's unanimous.
The next item I have is 5/2021-0966, which does not meet the criteria required for consideration by the committee. 0967 is the application at the Silver Cup, which, as the site is in the ownership of the town council, we will not comment on this particular application. So next one is 5/2021 1000 at 34 Townsend Lane. Have your comments on this.
Okay, so I think we've got 4 images for this one. Okay, so this particular application, the committee didn't consider the refuse scheme. However, due to the refusal and the fact that it went to appeal and that was dismissed, and along with that, the possible impact on the neighbouring properties, I felt that it was actually sensible for the committee to consider this particular application. So despite this, the resubmission is not clear to see that there are any major changes to the address, the reasons for the refusal and the appeal dismissal. So the property is locally listed in the conservation area. So therefore, I've recommended refusal as previous reasons for refusal and appeal dismissal have not been satisfactorily addressed.
Thank you, Heather. Does anyone have any comments on this one? I can't see any hands.
I think Nigel would like to speak.
Oh, Nigel, hello.
I merely concur with the officer's recommendation that it should be refused, having seen the rear elevation of this property, which I happen to know. I think it's totally inappropriate, bearing in mind it's going to be overseeing it must be 32 Townsend Lane, which is slightly down the slope from it. Yeah, I'd refuse it.
Thank you, Nigel. Any further comments from committee members? No, in that case, I'm, as with Nigel, I'm minded to go with the recommendation as set out. All in favour of that?
Yep, unanimous.
Okay, great, thank you.
Perfect. Moving on to 5/2021 1009 does not meet the criteria required for consideration. 5/2021 1040 at 25 Morton End Lane. Heather, your comments on this one?
Yeah, okay, so we've got 4 images to show for this one, please. Okay, so this proposal has already been considered by the committee as part of a tandem scheme with the introduction of a new dwelling to the rear, which was withdrawn with the reference of 5/23/083. Nothing has changed to this element of the application. Therefore, the observations from that application remain as follows. Removing the conservatory and replacing with essentially a ground floor wraparound extension to the side and across the back of the property over the footprint of the conservatory and a first floor side extension. There's a loss of the front parking space to facilitate the side extension, although 2 parking spaces are to be retained at the end of the garden, which is accessed from Morton End Close. Additional bedroom and bathroom are proposed in the side extension and a roof space. Creation of a rear dormer window, and the proposal appears to be in keeping with the street scene, which is of a mixed style. Concerned that there is insufficient parking provision retained for a 4-bedroom house. So I've said consider, whilst the committee have no objection to the proposed extensions, they do express concern over the insufficient parking provision being retained or provided on the site with the loss of a parking space to facilitate the proposed side extension and the increase in bedrooms. Policies 40 and 72.4 of the district plan refers.
Yeah, I think particularly given the parking situation on Morton End Lane is not easy, I think that it's sensible to raise that. Any committee member? Nigel?
Question to Heather. Is Townsend, what is it, Morton
End Lane?
Morton End Lane. Is it in the conservation area?
It is, yes.
Right. Well, my reaction is, I mean, I would almost be minded to reject it. A, because of the parking problem. B, if it's in the conservation area, you're going to end up with a couple of relatively attractive old semi-detached cottages almost, and you're going to unbalance that building in a conservation area by adding that. Not wing it, that sort of extra 2 rooms, 4 rooms to if it's going to be the west side of the property. and I think it may well unbalance it if you go back to looking at the picture of the properties. If it were well set back from the road, I might not be so worried, but this is right on the road. It's a conservation area. I think it could be, they're attractive, they are attractive in their way.
Apologies, Nigel. Morton End Lane is partially in the conservation area, but this section is not. So I've just literally consulted my map. Literally just consulted my map now, and it's literally just on the section that is beyond the conservation area. But you know, obviously, your comments can still stand.
Okay, I think my comments still apply. You know, I think it's going to unbalance what has been built as one unit, but two properties.
Yes, no, I think certainly we should raise the street scene.
Question however, is it not locally listed?
No, because it's not in the conservation area, Bert.
Conservation area to be locally listed, does it?
Yes, it does, unfortunately. I'll just double check my list.
There are similar properties down Morton End Lane that are locally listed. I think there's only one pair. It's not, I suspect it's not that pair. But I agree with what Nigel said, it does unbalance it.
Okay, so this is where I do stand corrected, because where I thought that the division was clearly actually before or after in fact where these properties are, because you were right, Bert, it is locally listed and in conservation area, and it's beyond that it changes and is no longer in the conservation area, because we've got the earlier properties in the street and then after that it changes.
Presumably
Need to be a bit careful what we say, don't we?
Yeah.
After that, presumably as in up the hill rather than down the hill.
Yes, it is. Yeah, correct. So it's once you get further up, all the way up towards Claygate Avenue and Alders End Lane, it's no longer in the conservation area.
I mean, with that in mind, if it's locally listed in the conservation area, is the committee inclined towards a recommend refusal? I'm seeing nodding, and I'm assuming are related to this and not questions. Nigel, is that a question or?
No, I'm preempting your.
Okay, in that case, I'm inclined towards recommending refusal on the basis of the loss of parking and the effects on the street scene for the locally listed and conservation area. And if that could be put into some words that made sense in the English language, I would be immensely grateful.
That's fine, not a problem. I've made my notes.
All in favour of that recommendation?
Okay.
I'll abstain on that one, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say Harry's didn't vote on that one.
Would you like to raise anything, Harry?
Well, I mean, I understand the point of it being in the conversation area, but it's just I think it says here that it's a mixed street scene. So I personally I respect the comments of other councillors, but that I agree with it as it was originally drafted. I don't have an objection with the extension. I do with the parking. So I would have gone with an express concern.
Entirely fair enough. Are other councillors, do any other councillors want to change their vote towards express concern, or are we happy with the resolution as agreed? If I can just get another vote, just so that we have everyone's comments considered in it once we've done the vote. I think that was passed, wasn't it?
I think so. Yes.
Very difficult to see anyone on this little phone that I'm on. So if anyone does want to comment or anything I missed them, please do shout at me.
Don't worry, Matt. I can guide you. I can see everyone.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. I believe the next one is 5/20/21/1125 at 30 West Way. Heather, your comments, please.
Yes. Okay. So we've got 4 images for this particular one.
Oh, hang on. Which one's that one? That's it.
Number 26 on, that's it. Okay, so number 30 West Way. Proposal is to extend rearwards by 5 metres to the side with number 32 West Way, and by 2.7 metres to the coincide with number 28 Westway at ground floor level, and at 3.6 metres at first floor level to the side with number 32 Westway, taking into account the 45-degree visibility zone. They're also building to the first floor level above the garage and providing accommodation in the roof space with roof lights at the front and dormer to the rear. The attached neighbour appears to have done a similar scheme. Garage retained with 2 off-street parking spaces detailed, 4 bedrooms in total, no loss of trees.
Thank you. Heather, does anyone have
Yeah, so I've suggested no objection subject to no loss of amenity to the neighbouring properties. I was just checking because I wasn't sure if that there was actually an image that showed how this application will balance with the neighbouring property, the sort of the other section of the semi.
Perfect. Sorry, I accidentally put myself on mute then. Thank you, Heather. Does anyone on the committee have any comments on this application? I'm not seeing any hands. In that case, I'll proceed to a vote based on the recommendation of no objection subject to no loss of amenity. All in favour?
Yep, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, we've then got a run of 5/2021, 1139, 1161 and 0407, which all don't meet the criteria required for consideration. So the next one that we need to look at is 5/2021, 1157 at 251 Luton Road. Heather,
Okay,
your observation.
couple of images to just set the scene for this one. Okay, so the proposal is to reduce the width of the current garage straight utility to enable pedestrian access along the boundary to the newly created utility room. At first floor level, a small infill extension to the rear to extend a bedroom and to create an ensuite. Ample off-street parking, consider no objection.
Thank you. Heather, does anyone have any comments on this one? Bert?
Yeah, can you put the plans up again?
Yes, sure.
I spotted something. I might be wrong. I want the front elevation. It's probably not the one I'm thinking of, but on the left-hand side, it's an extension at the side, isn't it?
What's that?
Yeah.
So no, so what they're looking to do, Bert, from what you can see there, is that they're looking to actually reduce the width of the garage, so that they can, because currently the garage is built up to the boundary line, so at the moment they can't actually access the garden by going, unless they go through the garage and out the other side. So they're looking to reduce. If Mim, can you just go to the floor plans? Yes, they're looking to reduce the garage in width so that they have access along. That's it, yeah. Access along.
Okay, it's not the one I was thinking of.
Does anyone else have any comments they'd like to raise on this particular property? I'm not seeing any hands, in which case I propose we proceed with a recommendation of no objection. All in favour?
Unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Um, 5/2021 1160 does not meet the criteria required. Neither does 1121. So the next one for consideration by the committee is 5/2021 1144 at 24 West Common Way. Heather, your
Fine. Because I was unable to get along the road because it's a private road, so there aren't actually any images for this one to share. But the plot is substantial and the proposals are minor in relation to the host property size. Proposals of a small rear extension to the existing kitchen stroke dining and an extension to bedroom 1 with an internal bathroom alterations are all in keeping with the host property, which is locally listed in the Harpenden Conservation Area. No no detrimental impact on the net design and character of the property or on the neighbouring properties. Consider no objection subject to compliance with policies 85 and 87 of the district plan.
Thank you, Heather. Any comments on this one? Any, so I will proceed to a vote on the recommendation of no objection subject to etc. All in favour?
It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Sorry, let me drop my phone then. 2021-0830 does not meet the criteria, neither does 0944 or 1074 or 1192 or 1211. So the next one considering is 5/2021-0659 at the rear of the Red Cow Public House at 171 Westfield Road.
Okay.
Your comments on this
Yes.
one?
There's a number of images for us to share with this one, but this is obviously a very familiar site to the bulk of the committee. So this particular application is that the committee have considered a couple of applications for the site of a similar nature. The basis for each application remains the same in that it's the introduction of 3 terraced properties on the site at the rear of the Red Cow. The local planning authority have refused these applications on the basis of size, location, position and relationship to the Grade 2 listed public house. The Secretary of State has dismissed one application on grounds of setting close to a listed building and with the viability of the public house with regards to parking provision being lost. Despite the amendments being made to the design of the proposed dwellings, the scheme largely remains the same. So I have suggested that the recommend refusal, the previous reasons for refusal and appeal dismissal have not been addressed. So yeah, ultimately they are very small, very, very minor amendments, which really just do not address the reasons for refusal.
Thank you, Heather. Does anyone have any comments on this application, Bert?
Bert, yeah.
I think I know the history of this. I've called it in twice. This is a third application. The first time it was refused on 2 reasons: too close in height and too close to the pub, which is a Grade 2 listed pub, believe it or not. The second one was the car park is now the site. The car park for the pub is now the site for the houses. So it lost the viability of the pub in theory. Okay. The inspector threw that one out on those 2 reasons. The second one, District Council only picked up on 1 reason, which was the effect on the pub. They dropped the viability, so we can't really go back on that anymore. This time, I think you'll find from the drawing, they've taken the dormers out the roof and sort of dropped the building down and superimposed it behind the Red Cow pub. You should have the last drawing on there, which shows it's come lower. I'm not saying it's made it any better, or obviously it's another attempt.
Yeah, I think if you, number 35, Mim, if you click on that one. So you can see the one that is, yeah,
you see the one below, don't you?
yeah. So the one above with the sort of the more darker lines, that was the previously refused application, and then the one lower is the new scheme.
They've redesigned the houses to get them lower at the roof height. But
And I think, Mim, if you click on number 34, you can see that the roof line has changed. The one at the top is the refused one, and the one that's lower down is the new proposed one. So there is a reduction in height of the roof line.
Not sure that reduction's been retained in the third one. Having said that, I haven't called it in at the moment. I'm just letting sleeping dogs lie, and I think the officers at District Council will take their view on it, having seen the history. So.
Yeah, no, I think, what, does anyone else comment on this one?
Rosemary would like to speak.
I was only going to say, I mean, having seen this batted backwards and forwards, fundamentally, they have not addressed the previous reasons for refusal, and the issues remain. So I think there's no other, I don't think there's any other sensible route to go. except refuse.
Yeah, no, I think I'm inclined to agree. Does anyone else want to comment on this application?
It was
No.
simple. Yeah.
Nigel would like to speak.
Thank you. Yeah, if in that the what do you call it? The inspector rejected it on the basis that the parking should really belong to the pub. I think that's an obligation or difficulty they're going to have, whatever they come up with. If an inspector believes that, then that's going to be prima facie a blockage to any development of that site, I would have thought.
I think it would be a blockage if it went to appeal again.
That's what I'm saying. I think
it's not to
therefore
say.
Yeah, my reaction is therefore that should be one of the reasons why we refused it.
Well, it's me as district council dropped the viability of the pub with no parking. But then, of course, people being people will still park on the road, won't they?
But I think potentially the Secretary of State was viewing it that it was not acceptable to encourage people to be parking on the residential roads, that there should be the provision made available that was already there. You know, the provision was there. It was designed as parking space for the pub to, you know, prevent the on-street parking, I suppose.
And I was going to say, given the layout of the road and the chicanes on it, good luck with any parking on the street.
Parking is lower down by the B653 Lower Luton Road, but you've got a bus stop here too, which complicates it.
Yeah.
And a roundabout.
I think we all know the parking situation around there is not ideal. Any further comments, or should we move to a vote on the recommendation? I can't see any further comments. In which case, I would move that we adopt the recommendation as is set out by Heather.
Okay.
All in favour?
Yeah, unanimous.
Thank you.
Perfect. So moving on to 5/2021-1039 does not meet criteria required, nor does 1082, nor does 1129. So the next one for us to consider is 5/2021-1163 at 23 Springfield Crescent. Your observations.
Yep, so I think there's 3 images for us to set the scene. This one.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so the footprint is largely remaining the same, apart from a small increase forward at the ground floor level to increase the hallway space and convert the garage to a store. The addition of roof lights at the ground floor are included, and the roof is changing from a hip to a gable to facilitate loft accommodation, which will total 4 bedrooms. A flat roof dormer has been added to the rear and roof lights to the front. There are a variety of roof forms throughout the streets, and there is a loss of garage, but no detail of parking provision remaining. Although surmised from the pictures provided with the application that there are 3 off-street parking spaces being provided and there are no tree works proposed. Consider no objections subject to sufficient parking provision provided. Policies 40 and 72(4) of the district plan refers.
Perfect, thank you, Heather. Does anyone have any comments on this one? I can't see any, so I'll move to a vote on the recommendation of no objection. All in favour?
Okay, thank you.
You. 5/2021-1174 does not meet the criteria. Neither does 1201. So we're on to 5/2021-1223 at 31 Roundwood Park. Heather, your observations.
Yep, so we've got just 2 images with this one. Okay, so this one is actually a resubmission following approval on this particular site. So there's an extract that's been taken from the design update statement, which essentially explains what they're proposing to do. Planning permission was granted in January 2021 with a similar development. The main change is to extend the proposed gable forwards by 1.2 metres and to add a gable window at the roof level to the front elevation. There's also the omission of 2 of the originally proposed front Velux windows, plus the introduction of a feature timber work to the front gables to match others in the vicinity. Internal alterations have also been made to relocate the bathroom at the second floor level to be in one of the dormers closest to number 31A Ranwood Park to alleviate concerns raised by the neighbour. I think that was obviously something that was raised at the previous, even though the previous application was approved, they obviously raised these concerns with the LPA. So the amendments appear to be relatively minor in relation to the approved scheme. So I've said consider no objections subject to the no loss of amenity to the neighbouring properties, policy 72.5 of the district plan refers.
Thank you. Heather, any comments on this one from anyone on the committee?
Bert would like to speak.
I've got Nigel, then Bert.
Thank you, Chair. My only comment was height again. When I assuming that this is a resubmission or a version of an existing planning application, the height of the building or the planned building hasn't changed, has it, Heather?
No,
Because
it
if you
has
look
not
at the,
changed.
if you look at the plan, it's slightly higher than the adjoining property.
Yeah, the height, no, there's no change at
Okay.
all. I think
Thank you.
if you click
Thank you.
on, have I included, I might not have included the
No.
previously approved one. No, they might not have provided it. But no, there's no changes to the roof
Okay.
height at all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did call this one in actually. It's not had a refusal on it actually. I've called it in the committee, and it went through. But at the meeting, if you can you show the rear elevation, please, plans.
Oh, wait, come back. Here we go.
Rear elevation, no.
No, they're
I
the
might
only.
not have included the rear
No.
elevation.
No, you haven't. No.
I've looked it up elsewhere actually, so don't worry. I called it in. I wondered what was going on because it already gone through planning as a grant, and the objector wasn't too happy. Never spoke to me again, but that's not a problem. Having said that, there was a problem that the dormer and the first floor windows nearest the objector to the right, looking from the front, would be looking into their conservatory. But having said that, the plan I looked at did show, in fact, both the first floor and the dormer window nearest the objector's house is shown as being obscure glazed, which is, I think it was decided on the night, but I think for make things more clear, they've actually submitted that in, so that's now, you might say, legalised in the planning. So we've got 2 windows frosted or obscure glazed next to the objector. So I was quite pleased to see this.
Because I think, but from what sort of as I explained, what they've done is that they've done some internal reconfiguration, which means that they've moved the bathroom to be into that area of the house, so that 31A, their concerns are alleviated.
Wasn't I happy seeing what they'd legalised, you might say. Yep. Okay. No further comment.
In that case, I'm inclined to move to a vote on the recommendation of no objection. All in favour?
Yeah, unanimous.
Thank you.
5, 2020, 1231 does not meet the criteria required for consideration. So to 5, 2021, 1132 at 14 Mons Close. Headley, your comments on this?
Yep, so I think we've got 3 images for this one. Okay, so this proposal has made some amendments to the refuse scheme in that the proposed side extension has been reduced in width to the boundary line at the first floor level. And there's a reduction in height, the proposed rear extension and the size of the dormer window. However, there still appears, there appears to still be a lot of development for a relatively small plot. So my suggestion is consider recommend refusal. Not enough has been done to address the reasons I've done a double there. To address the reasons for the it's a bit of a double there. Not enough has been done to address the previous reasons for refusal.
You had the,
Yeah, bit of a double up there.
but it happens to the best of us. Any comments
go.
from members on this one? I can't see any hands. I mean, personally, I think I agree with the
Nigel would
recommendation.
like to speak, Matt.
Yeah, my reaction is looking at the rear of the plans at the rear and the side. It's a mess. That's all I can say. It's an absolute mess.
I'm assuming you agree with the recommendation. All in favour of recommend refusal?
Thank you.
Unanimous.
a little bit like my wording, Nigel. That is a mess.
No. It's just I had to look at this one several times, looking at my bigger screen. Now I could hardly make head of all the different slopes and nooks and crannies and what they've done. It just
it's very tight plot as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to 5/2021 130 doesn't meet the criteria for consideration. So we're on to 5/2021 1006, which is 14 Church Green Row, Church Green. Heather, your comments?
Yeah, so it's just got a little couple of images just to help to set the scene with this one. Okay, so this is as you can see here, is the site of Roland's Carpets that probably left the site empty a sort of couple of years ago, in a sense. So it's now a proposed bakery in an already vacant shop unit in the town centre. Sympathetic changes to the shop frontage, but no other material additions to the premises. Internal alterations proposed include a small amount of seating, but predominantly appears to be for the provision of takeaway. A welcome addition to the town centre. Consider no objection.
Thank you, Heather. Any comments from anyone on the committee? Rosemary.
I was only going to comment. I think it's actually been empty for more than 2 years because the Rowlands family retired quite a while ago, and I'm just going to say, really pleased to see something going into that site because it's been empty a very long time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the pudding stock will be very popular.
I can't remember when it last had something in it, so I would be inclined.
A long time ago. Not really good for our waistlines, but never mind.
My daughter and my grandchildren will be at the front of the queue when it opens.
Particularly given the current economic climate, I think we can all welcome a new business coming into the high street. But yes, so on that basis, I'm rather inclined to proceed with the recommendation of no objection. All in favour?
Unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Yes, and it's a style of shop that we don't already currently have, because in a sense they cater for sort of kind of dinner parties and things, with large cakes and things. It's not just necessarily going to be direct competition for some of the existing baker shops. I think they do.
They have a unit in St Albans, don't they?
They do, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they've been there for some time.
Yeah.
I think they've been looking to move to Harpenden for quite a while.
Like the sound of a shop that sells large cakes.
I think they've been looking to be able to set up here as well.
Okay, perfect. Moving on to 5/2021 1208 at 18 Salisbury Ave.
Okay.
Heather.
Yeah, I don't think I've done any images for this one. Have I, Mim? I don't think I have.
No.
Okay, so this proposal differs little from the previously approved scheme, 5/20/3107, save for changes to the window location and the extension to bedroom 2, which will create a better balance of design to the rear of the property. Consider no objection.
Thank you, Heather. Any comments on from anyone on the committee? I can't see any, in which case I'm minded to go with the recommendation of no objection. All in favour?
Yep, unanimous, Hev.
Thank you.
Perfect. In that case, the final one is 5/2021/12/12, which does not meet the criteria required for consideration. So we move on to agenda item 7. I need to go back and remember what this was nice to into agenda item 7, which is appeals. And we have one, I believe. Heather, any notables that we should be picking up on?
No, so I mean the appeals really is just a case of informing the committee that they have, you know, submitted an appeal to the Secretary of State.
Okay, perfect. Then item 8 is preservation order tree works, which is just for noting, I believe. And then item 9 is conservation area tree works and technical applications, which is normally just for noting, but I have been made aware of a technical application at number 11 Southdown Road, which I think it might be worth the committee taking a further look at, which I can't quite find the page number now, but if someone finds it, do shout it out to me.
Yes, it's on page 38, the second application on page 38.
Yes, so long-standing committee members will have seen previous applications on 11 Southdown Road. Heather, did you get a chance to have a look at this afternoon?
I did, yes, yes. So essentially, actually, you know, we've looked at a little bit like the Red Cow. We've looked at a number of schemes presented for this particular site. Ultimately, really, aesthetically looking exactly the same. They've ranged in what they have been sort of kind of listed or recorded as being used for, from sort of a gym to a sort of a hobby room to sort of, you know, this, that and the other. So essentially, nothing has changed. Just that they're trying to, I suppose, push this through by describing the uses that they're going to put this little particular dwelling to, but it does not, well, we use the word dwelling, building, structure. It's essentially the aesthetics of it, and i.e. the effect on the conservation area, its locally listing sort of kind of position, have not changed. So in my view, I think that we should repeat the wording that we had used last time, which was recommend refusal. The committee deemed this application as not suitable for consideration as a certificate of lawfulness and should be considered as a full planning application. The committee continued to consider the pavilion element of the proposal as an overdevelopment due to the size, bulk and being at odds with the surrounding locally listed properties in the Harpenden Conservation Area. Policy ESD2 of the Neighbourhood Plan and Policy 85 of the District Plan refers.
Thank you, Heather. Does anyone have anything they'd like to raise on this item, or Rosemary?
Well, I was only going to say, I've lost count of how many descriptions of this structure they've come up with. Just going to point out, I can't remember if it was mentioned, I don't think so, that it has already been called in, and a very, very full call in, and I certainly go with the recommendation.
Yes, no, I think Councillor Butterworth rather went through in a lot of detail in his call in. Any further comments on this, or are we happy to go with the recommendation as set out by Heather? Can't see any hands, in which case all in favour of that recommendation.
That's unanimous, Hev.
That was quick. That sounds sharp. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. I think there is something else on the agenda I need to read. Yes, we've also got the list of weekly decisions under item 10, which is just for noting. And then the date of the next meeting.
Bert's got his hand up. Sorry to interrupt.
A question I should know the answer to, but if you don't need to make a comment, do you do anything to district council? Do you actually say no comment?
Yes.
You do?
Yes. Yeah, so
No.
ultimately where it's recorded as being that it doesn't meet the criteria for our consideration, that is shared with the district council and obviously goes into the officer report for those particular applications.
Making sure you didn't just ignore it. No, okay.
Thanks for so item 11, date of the next meeting is on Tuesday, the 8th of June. Usual time, usual Zoom. And next St Albans Plans North is on the 19th of May, which I think is tomorrow. And with that, unless anyone has any final remarks they'd like to make, I will bring the meeting to a close at 20:35, I think is reasonable time for a planning planning meeting. So thank you all for coming along.
Thank you.